I just got to share a few things about my nominee. Interesting little guy, and I just share a little story about when he was a little boy. He was about 5 years old. And they went to the only place in the county that anybody showed up, which was at the state fair. So he goes to the state fair with his family, and he gets lost. So he finally found a policeman, and he said, "Sir," he said, "I'm lost." The policeman says, "Well, who are you trying to find?" He said, "My grandpa." He said, "Well, what's his name?" He said, "Grandpa." He said, "Well, what is he like?" He said, "He likes bourbon whiskey and pretty women." But I don't know about that. But you know, he got so excited as a 5-year-old when he was at the state fair, he went back. But this time he's about, maybe 19 or 20, and he's got his pilot's license. Now, being a little entrepreneur, he is determined to make some money. So he gets himself an airplane, and he goes out to the state park, and he says, "Look, I'm going to set up a booth, and I'm going to give people airplane rides around this park." So he sets his little booth, and he's giving airplane rides for $20. So he had this elderly couple come up to him. He said, "Sir," he said, "how much is an airplane ride?" And he looked over at him. He said, $20. The lady looked at her husband. She said, "Oh, honey," she said, "things has been rough on the farm." She said, "I don't think the corn's going to make much this year. I don't think we can afford that." And they turned around and walked off. Well, they came back the next year. Walked up, same young man. Said, "How much airplane ride?" Said, $20. She looked at her husband. She said, "We had a lightning strike 3 cows last week." Said, I just don't think we can do that." And they walked off. Now the third year when they come back, he's ready for them. He sees them coming up. And right away they go, "How much is that?" He says, No, wait a minute. He said, "Y'all been here 2 years in a row." He said, "Here's the deal." He said, "I'm going to fly you all for nothing." He said, "If you get in that airplane and you get up there and we fly all the way around and we come back and you ain't said a word," said, "I ain't going to charge you nothing." And the old lady looked at her husband and says, "Get in." So they got in that airplane and away they go. They get off the end of the runway. He immediately goes out there, goes a couple barrel rolls, does a couple flips, and he comes back and flipping, and he ain't heard a word. Not a peep. And he gets ready to land that airplane. There's nothing else to do. He looked back, and the old man is gone. Gone. And he looked over at her, and he said, "My Lord," said, "what happened to him?" She said, "I don't know. When you turned that airplane over," said, "he fell out." Said, "Well, why didn't you say something?" She said, "Sir, $20 is $20. So he's always been interested in money, so that's what got him in the auction business. But this young man has been to the auction business what Zig Ziglar has been to the speaking business. He has done about everything that you can imagine in the auction field. He has done more than that for the NAA and a whole lot more than that for the CAI. He called me a number of years ago and he said, "What is this CAI thing?" And I said, "It's a thing that you need to be into." So he immediately got involved and he attended the CAI program. He's an incredible, incredible guy. When he was growing up, he had a little boy that said, "Dad," said, I'm learning geology and geography and all about America, but we haven't been anywhere." Said, "I'd like to go see America." And he looked at his son. He said, his dad said, "Well, I don't think you should take him because I don't think you can afford it." He said, "Well, I don't think I can afford not to." So he puts his little guy in a car and they drive all over America for 3 or 4 weeks. He's committed. He's committed, father. In the 70s, he got a bachelor's degree. He started then becoming the leader. He was a president of everything that happened in college. Didn't create too much havoc. He didn't get put in jail anyway. He was a leader at the Kappa Alpha fraternity. In the 80s, He was the outstanding young man of the year in this city. When he was 21 years old, now you talk about getting a jump start. When he was 21 years old, he was elected in his state as a state representative, which he served for 2 whole terms. Now, he was in politics for this period of time, but at no time did we ever hear of the fact that he in any way was influenced by the Russians. But Rachel Maddox is still trying to figure it out. But in any case, we don't know that he was influenced in any way. He's a champion auctioneer of his state. He has served in every office of his state association. He holds all the degrees, the AARE, the CES, the AMA, the BAS, the CAI, the GPPA, MPPA, and I think the NAACP, and I'm not sure. But he's got all the designations. You know, if you go to one of his seminars, you want to be sure and get a good night's sleep the night before. Because if you spend 3 hours in one of his seminars, he's going to wear you out. He's the most hyper guy I know except me. I'm telling you, he's incredible. But he does a super, super job. Just to tell you a little bit more about him, and like I said, I don't want you gritting your teeth too long. He was called by a very famous movie star that said he needed some help at his cancer school, counsel, etc. Said, I just need help. So for 18 years, he went to help with the kids who had cancer. Many of the stories that came from that is numbing. But the dedication that he has spent and the dedication he gave to that organization is incredible. He had one young man particularly that said he's not going to make it, just has no way of living. There's no way he's not going to make it. But in spite of everything the doctor said, he did make it. He survived. But my nominee said, well, he's through with the cancer, but he doesn't have any money. He doesn't have any education. We got to do something about that. So he started an educational scholarship for these young people and spent an incredible amount of money doing it and an awesome amount of time. You know, that's what life is all about. It's not what you give or not what you take, but it's what you give. I could spend the rest of the night talking about him and telling you all the accolades and all of his school background and all of that good stuff. But I don't think I'm going to take the time to do that. What I'm going to do is to tell you who the next nominee is for the Hall of Fame. He's more like a brother than he is a competitor. You know, ladies and gentlemen, pessimists complain when the wind blows. Optimist expects the wind to change. But a realist adjusts his sails. And this young man, ladies and gentlemen, has adjusted his sails through his entire life. He's an incredible individual, and it's my pleasure to introduce to you our next nominee. But wait, maybe I should let him do it. So if you will turn your attentions to the screen.
Many times in life, we find that whatever we own owns us. And being owned by something means that you can't go on with your life. An auctioneer is the person responsible for the transaction in all facets, from the bid calling to the contract signing, to the collecting of funds, to the dispersing of funds, and the marketing of that asset. The auction method marketing is a perfect match for people that want to settle estate, sell that second home, and liquidating a business, a partnership. And many of our nonprofits yield to the auction method of selling to raise money to help others in specific causes, from children's cancer camps to opera. In anything we do in life, we try to find that silver lining. And I think in my profession, see families heal over things is a wonderful gift, and I'm glad I've had that gift. My name is Chris Pratt. I'm a professional auctioneer.
Ladies and gentlemen, from Anderson, South Carolina, our very own Christopher Pratt. Great job. Great job. Well done.
I love you too. Hey, son. This is the possum.
We got a few more people. You go ahead. They'll be up here. We'll talk to you.
Bill. I had two mamas. Two. Born on July the 4th, 105 years old. My Bill.
That's one thing I got to do before I stick you. Well, if we didn't do anything else, we surprised the old man, I'll tell you that.
I got one thing to say here. Don't you go anywhere now. You stay right here. I wore this handkerchief out last night. Now I'm working on this one. I do the best I can. He talked about that airplane. Let me tell you how I met this guy. A guy named George Pachelis, who was our executive director of the South Carolina Auctioneers Association. And I was in the legislature, child legislator. I was. I served 8 years. I was 21 years old. But I had a guy named Andrew David Griffith. Andy. It's interesting with Mark Rogers with Andy. But he had a 6,000-acre ranch in Florida, and they said, there's nobody to do it except Marty. You call Marty. So I called Marty. And he flew into that 6,000-acre ranch in a Beechcraft Bonanza. I'll never forget it as long as I live. And he landed on that 4,000-foot runway, and he jumped out of that airplane, and all I could think was, I'm gonna be just like him one day. I hope I could have do it. And we sat on General Batista's desk. The Central Intelligence Agency had used this ranch as an operative ranch. I didn't know it till years later. But they had brought the Batista family out in this ranch, and Marty came, and Mandy was broke. He was from South Carolina, and he had wanted us to sell it. Now, we fooled with him for a long time, and we learned how it was to get tangled up with somebody that wasn't going to do what they said they were going to do. But let me say something. My father was a lawyer, but just like my mama back here, and I had two mamas, my birth mama and my Belle. I had two dads. I'm sorry, pal. You've been a dad to me, and I love you more than life. And know that.
I love you.
I love you.
So let me give you a big clap. So I'm supposed to present this to you, right?
Yes.
Hold the handkerchief. All right, here we go.
Thank you.
Awesome. And I'm going to read it to you. To Christopher Pratt, CAI, AARE, CES, and a bunch of others. Anderson, South Carolina, is recognized in appreciation of his outstanding contribution to the profession of auctioneering and the National Auctioneers Association as of 2017 Hall of Fame Award recipient. All right, here you go, my friend. Love it.
Love you too. Wow, I mean, how'd you do it, big brother? Following these great mentors and Hall of Fame recipients, and I think about that airplane. I look at Randy Reuter down there, and I used to fly the plane, and the old men would pay the bill, and we'd go pheasant hunting in Hastings, Nebraska, and I'd fly the plane up there, and Fred says, "Don't worry, bub." Said, "We had a snowstorm." Said, "We can land." He said, "That lands flat out there." I said, "Well, Fred," I said, "them TV antennas are mighty high, and they'll cut this wing off. I'm landing in St. Joe, Missouri, and we're going to rent a car, and we're going to drive the rest of the way." And we did, and we learned America a little bit, and I have to tell you, this industry, you know, the truth is that I had to start all over again. And going to CAI, I sat in that hall thanks to Marty and Matthias Yantz from South Carolina that said, "You got to go. You'll make you a better business auctioneer." And listen, folks, I got to give it's the world. And I did. I tried to be like Marty. I got the big bus, and I tried to do it all, and I went broke. If y'all remember, interest rates were 15, 20%. My mama thought I was smart, had a little trust. It wasn't much in it, $50,000 trust, and I got her 16.55% interest. But what she didn't know, I was on the other side of the bank paying 21%. It don't work. Let me just tell you, that does not work. So when I started over, you know, it was CAI. It brought me home. It brought me back to center because I knew I had all of you, and I could build the biggest team and the best team, and I could be a tailor. As long as I could write the business, I didn't have to worry about the expertise. It's all here. It's all you. And as I've presented the courses here with CES, I really encourage it because don't worry about anything. Just look to your left and look to your right. It's like Lonesome Dove and Robert Duvall. My partners over here, J.J. Dower and Kurt Allman and Matt Corso and the great team of you at Martinet. We built that from CAI. Great things happen when we work together. Team. Remember when I was the first chairman of education when we merged, we had a guy, a Marine, one patch over his eye, one arm from Paulers Island, South Carolina, Cleveland McClary. And he said, "Together, everybody achieves more. And hope is a wonderful thing." And I look out and I see Walter House, and I see careers that have changed, second careers, and Tommy Rowell, and all of you wonderful people that I can't touch, and Aaron's mother, Jill, that would fly down from New York, a 1099er, give her a check, she'd go back home. I learned that I couldn't afford the overhead of a big office. And then I made it. And then I got it going again. I could write the business because of you. It wasn't me. It was because of what you gave me and the start you gave me. And my wonderful family here and the mother of my godchild, we did go to Russia. Ann and I, come here, Ann. Ann and I went to Russia. And you know what? She called me one day. She says, "I want to have a baby." I said, "What you want me to do about it?" She said, I want you to go to Russia with me."
We're also related.
I know, right? We're cousins. She's my cousin. And so I said, so listen, so we go. So her roommate at Vanderbilt was a pediatrician. They'd gone over and they'd taken the Putin train and gone up into the tundra. And they'd found this beautiful young girl. Now I'm a fourth and he's a fifth only child boy. So I've had to adopt many of you. And we went over, and she adopted this wonderful little girl, Evelyn. We call Evie. And she's now 8 years old? 9. Going on 9. 27th of December is her birthday. And in the snow, we flew to Moscow, got on the Putin train, rode it 14 hours and woke up and got an Anatolian man, and we went to their orphanage, and we got this, she adopted this beautiful girl. And I had the honor and the privilege of putting her in my arms because I always wanted a big family. I'm a 4th generation only child. I wanted children, and it just didn't work in my deal, but it has. It has because of Ann and Jeannie and my son Christopher, who's my life. And I'm lost. I don't know what to say except I love you.
Thank you.
And I thank you. Thank you, Ann. She's a lawyer. She said thank you. Hey, it's real simple. I love each and every one of you. And love is action. I love Spanky's statement of love you, but let me tell you, my grandmother was kind of a tough gal. And she had a big farm in Kentucky, and I'll never forget that I was telling somebody about where the land was in the Mets and bounds and where the property joined and everything. She said, don't tell everything you know. And I said, yes, ma'am. And I said, I love you, Grandmama. She said, show me. And you've shown me. You've shown the love not only to me, but to each and every one of the clients and people you touch. And like we said earlier tonight, we all compete. Yes, we do compete. But at the end of the day, we all come back together. And when somebody lands a deal, I'm going to be backing you like a bird dog on a quail. And I'm going to help you, and you have helped me, and I'm going to continue to give it back. And I want to tell you, we are on the brink of great things. And I love the new generation, the Tucker Allmans, the young people, the John Rouse, those coming up. That's what I give, like Marty gave to me, and like you all have given to me, to let me have that second chance. And my daddy lived the 6 months to see that I never wanted to be a lawyer. I ran away from home. I didn't want to be a lawyer because he was a very unhappy lawyer doing tax work, chained to a desk because he was an outdoorsman. But he lived to see my son become a lawyer, and that before he died. And it made him real happy. And the last thing was the picture. And you've heard me tell this before, and I'll tell it one more time. Come up here, son. Dad Christopher opened his practice. He clerked for federal judge and then clerked for a state judge. And then he opened his own practice up. And he's been in practice, what now?
9 years.
9 years. And before Dad died, had the big gold rim, Christopher Pratt, lawyer. We never called ourselves attorneys or anything. It was lawyer, is what he called it. And Dad was sitting in the middle, and Christopher was on one side. Fellow pickup truck came by. He said, look at the 3 lawyers. Dad stepped out, and he says, Chris isn't a lawyer. He's an auctioneer. He hires and fires lawyers. Thank you, and God bless each and every one of you.